So Brandon Kett, Canadian Mefloquine Lariam Veterans Support, correct?
Yeah.
And I'm going to turn it over to you, brother. Who are you? What do you do and why?
Good. That's a long-winded question, but I guess I'll start with how I came to be a soldier and go from there.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I joined the Canadian Armed Forces in 2002 as a reserve unit. The Windsor Regiment is an armored reconnaissance unit, and I served with them for about three and a half years when I was down living in Windsor. That's where I'm from, so
yeah,
it was the closest unit. I tried to become Essex and Kent Scottish infantry because my heart was always as an infanteer, but armored was available, so I didn't want to wait to join, so I ended up switching to armored. It sounded pretty cool when the recruiter gave me a spiel. And then yeah, so I went away, did my training there in Meaford, Ontario, and then from there served 3.5 years. After that, I thought I liked what the Army had to offer, and I don't know if you know much about Windsor, but we had the big three car manufacturing companies in there, so they all went under pretty much, and there wasn't very good employment opportunities available in the area. So me, I thought I could go get an education and start a career in the forces, so I allotted to do the transfer to Reg Force, and again tried to go infantry. I wanted to be a pickly. I ended up having an easier transition to go over to the Army Corps, so I ended up allowing to go to the Royal Canadian Dragoons and stay with my trade of armored reconnaissance. So I did 10 years of Reg Force, which totaled 14 years total. And yeah, it was a long journey, but I made it through, and I did a tour to Afghanistan in 2007. So not even a year at the regiment, and I was already deployed.
Right.
Which most of my peers who were on my courses had to wait longer to end up going overseas, because it was during the threshold where the rotations were, quick, fast, and furious.
Yeah, I take it that's also when you hit onto the Mefloquine and stuff as well.
Yeah, I took Mefloquine for about 7.5 months back in 2007.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when I took it, and I wasn't sure of the drug when I was taking it, what I was taking exactly.
So what led to the advocacy aspect of your life?
Yeah, that's kind of a long story, but I'll get into it here. So home from Afghanistan, being a hardcore kind of grunt attitude, I was sucking it up and soldiering on through the post-tour feelings of like depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts. I actually did attempt to suicide myself once in 2011, right before I went and got help from the medical system. Shoot, I lost my train of thought. That happens. But what was the question again, sorry?
So what started the advocacy stuff?
Oh, advocacy, yeah. So back, I accepted my PTSD diagnosis at first. Yeah, I almost willingly took it on because I was struggling so much. I was looking for a reason or a causation to my feelings I was dealing with, because they're very difficult to deal with day to day. And yeah, treatment resistant to the SSRIs, which then led to the antipsychotic medicines they put me on all the way up to Seroquel, which was pushing me further and closer into depression and suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, so just you hit that one. So if we can just plug this in, it's really interesting because recently I've been doing a lot of research on the SSRIs, and most of them actually state outright either if methylquine or a quinine-based drug, if you're using it, you cannot use an SSRI. Right? And so here we have all these mefloquine poisoned veterans who have been given SSRIs, and the contradiction, so just so that everyone understands, is that the side effects that we experience from the mefloquine the anxiety, the rapid mood swings, the suicidal ideology, aggressiveness, all this stuff is paralleled as an adverse reaction with an SSRI. And it is impossible to know while you're on either or drug or being affected by either or drug, which is causing the problem and to what extent. And so
Yes.
that's why it's contraindicated.
Yeah, and for me, when I started taking the drugs, I kind of liked the fact that they numbed me, because that's all they really do is numb you. So I stopped feeling anything. I wasn't feeling happy, sad, depressed. There was no feelings going through my mind. I almost became mentally robotic and just kind of operated through life day to day on a robotic scale. I wasn't really using my cognitive function anymore, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just numbed me out. But yeah, those pills ended up being the bane of my existence in the medical military system, because in a span of about 6 months-ish, maybe less than a year, they switched me 13 different times on all these different medications. And I have that in my record that I submitted to Paul Miller and his
Yeah.
and just that every other week, 2 weeks coming in and getting a different med, the chemistry of my brain just couldn't settle. I was becoming worse and worse. So it made me detach from the medical system and almost go on my own to try and figure it out. And that's when I started Googling, and I ended up putting in my symptoms I was feeling outside of PTSD, which for me, it was my chain of command. I felt like they were coming after me, which was true. So they were validating my paranoia, but I had that purgatory thoughts where I was always thinking everyone's turning against me and conspiring behind my back, but then being validated as well. So that led me to find Dr. Nevin's work, and then I dived deep into that, watching all his, this is back in 2013 when I was still serving, so it wasn't as available as it is now, but there's enough out there that I could watch his lectures on YouTube and things. And I thought bringing it to the medical.
Sorry to interrupt, but what tuned you into Dr. Nevin specifically?
I think I might have, it was a Google search back then when Google was less censored and you can get more material objectively, but I think it had to do with, I can't remember the exact phrase or whatever, but basically I punched in PTSD, always thinking paranoid thoughts about whatever, and something popped up, Dr. Nevin and Mefloquine, and I was like, Mefloquine? I didn't even know I took this drug in Afghanistan, because it was just so insignificant thing that they didn't really make a big deal out of it, so it wasn't on my mind. But yeah, I ended up ringing a bell. I was like, Mefloquine. So I started doing my research based on that, and then I stumbled upon this thing. I thought I found the great key to the kingdom, that I was going to bring it to them and they're going to be able to help me and give me the answers. And new treatments were going to be used on me and things.
Yeah.
They just laughingly cast me to the side, you know?
Yeah.
It was like a joke that Mefloquine could even cause injury.